What's up guys, today we're going to be looking at Ubuntu and Windows 10 running on Windows 10's minimum system requirements. Let's get at it. First one up is Ubuntu. It's just starting up, and keep in mind this is running on 1 core, 2 gig RAM. Both machines 1 core, 2 gig RAM. Okay, so logging in there. Awesome. Let's check our system. Okay. We can see there's a few processors running. A lot of them aren't using much of anything, really. A couple of kilobytes, there's 1 megabyte. And the GNOME shell, which is currently using more CPU than anything else. Snap Store popped up. Obviously, checking for updates. There are updates available. This is an out-of-date system, so it might remind us. Let's just wait for it. Here we can see that the memory straight off the bat here is 1.1 gig out of the 2 gigs. So that leaves us with about, say 40 something percent. This is going to go up, so that's why I say 40 something percent for the user to actually do other things with other apps and so on. Now, keep in mind, you probably won't want to install Ubuntu in this state on a machine this old. You'd choose another distribution like Linux Lite or something like that. But I mean, it does work. It's not as bad. Let's jump into the Windows machine and see what's going on. What's going on over there? Let's open the Windows machine. Okay. So we've given Windows a bit more time. I started them at the same time. So we've given Windows a bit more time to boot up, as it does tend to take a little bit longer. We see updates already queued here. Earlier when I started this machine up, it did also have that big pop-up that requests you to finish setting up everything else. Also what I did was I went ahead and I disabled OneDrive and Edge from starting up automatically. I'll show you in the task manager that those are actually on by default for startup. Those two were both enabled by default. And OneDrive, I mean, I don't use OneDrive, but you close it the first time, then it popped up again. It just restarted itself the first time I had to close it twice. So yeah, a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I had to disable those. It does help disabling those on an old machine, really, really does. So after a while of sitting here, chilling, loading, we can see that it's using 1.2 gigs, so very similar to the Ubuntu. However, with that OneDrive and with that Edge that started up earlier, we did see quite a significant increase. We were running at about 90% RAM, and this is the minimum specs, okay? Besides the CPU speed being way higher, other than that, this is running on minimum specs. So let's go ahead and enable these, and then I'll reboot the machine, and then you can see what happens when we start it up. So I'm gonna not update and restart. I'm so glad that they gave you those options now. In the past, the only option was update and restart, or update and shut down. So there was a way around it, like with shift or something, but I can't remember exactly what that was. So I'm glad they actually added it there, because oftentimes you don't have the time to wait for it to update. You know, you're on a laptop, you want to close it, you want to go. So yeah, let's see. Oh, forget you don't have to press enter. Type in your pin. Okay, so it's starting back up. Let's see task manager. I mean, it seems pretty snappy, but keep in mind there's nothing else installed. Nothing else. Skype. Do I use Skype? No. Now keep in mind, right? I don't use Skype. I don't use OneDrive. I just saw a OneDrive thingy pop up there. There's a OneDrive magic there. Okay. So yes, I did enable it. So that's starting up. Why is Skype starting now? I mean, seriously. And you can look at the breakdown. Let me just put it on name so it stops jumping around. So look at the breakdown here. Okay, now it's suspended itself. Okay, but for the initial bit, I'm sure you guys would have seen it was like 600, 700 megs or something. Initially. Also, am I running Edge? No, I'm not running Edge, but Edge has started up here because it's a default, process to start up. So yeah, very, very much fun. So let's have a look at the memory now. We can see it's increased quite a bit. Let's go to OneDrive here. Say close OneDrive. Close OneDrive. Thank you so much. I've dealt with the other stuff earlier, but it's a pain in the butt. We're at 1.4 gigs now. So it is increasing. It's like getting there. It's slowly getting there. It's going back down. Let's go check on the Ubuntu system, shall we? Bloop, 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 bloop. Ubuntu system just chilling at 1.1, man. Look at this graph. It's just straight. Not up and down. It's very stable. It's just chilling, man. Woo. Let's click start here. Click. Now, this is default install. Keep in mind, this is an operating system that you have paid a license fee for. Whether you got it with your machine or not, you have paid a license fee. So immediately we got Skype and Office and OneDrive stuff over there. They're trying to push all of those on you. Microsoft Store, they got these set up by default apps there. I think they've done a good job at cleaning this up a little bit. It used to be way worse, like Bubble Witch Saga and all of that stuff used to be actual dedicated tiles for themselves here. So props to Microsoft for cleaning that up. But how long did it take? The tiles are still there. How long did it take them to actually clean this up, or how long did it take them to actually add this functionality where you don't have to update and shut down, where you actually have the option just to shut down? How long did it take you guys? Seriously, how long? And keep in mind, I know for a fact there's updates on the Ubuntu machine, and it hasn't popped up yet. Okay, which is great. It popped up earlier, but it's just a remind me later, and then it tends to not really bug you about the updates again. Really nice. Okay, so far we still at 1.1 gig here for the RAM usage. Let's look at Task Manager once again. 1.2 gig. Okay. So that being said, you don't want to run either of these operating systems on a machine with 2 gigs of RAM, even though it is in the minimum system requirements for Windows. What I'd like to show you is actually the minimum system requirements for Ubuntu, because they're actually smart, okay? So they actually know that this might not be a nice experience for you guys. So they actually bump up the minimum requirements. What is? Not now. It's cool. Where are we importing even from? I mean, go away. Okay. All right. So here we go. So check these minimum requirements, right? It says a 2 gigahertz dual core processor and 4 gig RAM. Okay. So right now on this machine, we are, oh, there's the system monitor. Right now on this machine, we are running a single core CPU with 2 gig RAM. So we're essentially cutting the minimum requirements in half here, and we are still able to use the machine, okay? but you can tell it's not a nice experience. It's very sluggish, okay? It does lag even just scrolling a web page. So they know that they it shouldn't be installed on a machine with these with specs less than this. Okay, they have sort of a minimum bar that is set. Now let's go over to Windows 10. It's also sluggish. The mouse lags. Okay, starting up a new program, it's got this crap that you need to deal with. It's just as sluggish. Okay, in some cases even more sluggish if you don't, kill OneDrive. And there's Skype. What the heck? I don't use Skype. Why is it open? Anyhow, so let's just say not now, not now, not now. Okay. Let's go and say minimum specs Windows 10. Yes, I have searched it here before. So here you can see for a 64-bit processor, you need at least 2 gig RAM, but it still just says a 1 gigahertz or faster system on chip. Okay, that's it. So nothing mentioned about dual core or anything like that. It's just bleh. Okay. So yeah, you can run Windows 10 on rubbish machinery, but it's not ideal, especially if you're running it in a desktop environment and you haven't, optimized it. Now, for the average user, they're not going to know how to optimize it. They're not going to know how to, de-bloat it or anything like that. So literally now, I mean, if we open Firefox and go to a web page, like, what's the RAM usage going to be like? It's going to be terrible. Let's have a look. I'm used to single clicking. Oh, this is fun. Make primary browser. Okay. Is it allowed to just do that one button click? In the past, we had to go to that other menu and set it up there. That's great. Okay, Windows is improving, guys. Windows is improving, but I fear it's a little too late. So let's go to something like YouTube, right? But let's just cut that down. Okay, so there's a little bit of music playing in the background. We have 2 tabs open. Let's maybe go to Wikipedia here. Quite a light side. Cool. And then we'll minimize that, and then we'll see. Okay, we bumped up to 1.6. Okay, so now you're someone who wants to use your laptop for like work or something. Put some music on in the background. Okay, now you're ready to work. So let's see how much we've got to work with. So we've got round about 25% for our actual application that we want to use to run. This to me should not be a minimum requirement. Minimum requirement these days for computers should be something that you can at least multitask on. This is lagging. The music is like lagging. I can assure you it's not my net. Okay, so this is terrible. And if it's doing updates and stuff and you're on a mechanical drive, it's going to be even worse. I tell you now. So this shouldn't be minimum requirements. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't be. The fact that you can still use Ubuntu, and on Ubuntu, let's be honest, we're gonna have probably a worse experience on this minimum set that we're using for Windows. But the moment we double it up to its actual minimum, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna have plenty of space. I mean, look at the amount of RAM. Right now we had 1.4 because Firefox and all that stuff, but if we had double the amount of RAM, we'd still have plenty of room for our actual work applications. So the point of this video is to compare Windows 10 on its minimum specs with Ubuntu on Windows 10's minimum specs. That's the point of this video. So, but hey, I mean, you can use the computer, but you won't be able to multitask much, if at all, really. This is really sort of a one thing at a time sort of specs, yeah, definitely. Anywho, guys, I'm gonna log off now. Okay, so my point is we need to look at minimum specs and also take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of times the minimum specs just does not give you a good experience. It's probably fine on Windows 10 for like a machine at work that just runs one touchscreen and someone just needs to enter in their their password or, get their thumb scanned, that's probably fine. But for a desktop user that wants to be productive, minimum specs are just not up to scratch. And Ubuntu knows this. So I think Ubuntu's minimum specifications is much more realistic, and will result in a much better experience than with the Windows 10's minimum specifications, or requirements, I should say. And it's just something that we need to keep in mind. Same with games. You can look at the minimum requirements for games, but oftentimes said minimum requirements will result in a terrible gaming experience. I think games probably have a better incentive to have more realistic minimum requirements posted, but we do see it happen. So I think anybody who makes a distribution for Linux, or who makes an operating system, whether it's Mac or Windows, they need to have they need to bump up their minimum requirements, because at the end of the day, for someone using a desktop as a desktop for, multitasking, so browsing Facebook and Reddit, and you listening to music, and you working on a PowerPoint, you know you're gonna need more RAM. Okay, you're definitely gonna need more RAM. And Windows especially needs to have an SSD as a minimum requirement, because if it starts doing updates and stuff in the background, which by the way, it doesn't prompt you for most of the time, on a mechanical drive, it just sucks. It really sucks. You can Google it. 100% disk usage, Windows 10. Google it. It's terrible. Okay. So I think software developers, or say, yeah, software developers in general, just need to really consider their minimum requirements, and really consider, is it going to be an enjoyable experience? If it's not really going to be an enjoyable experience where you can use the machine, for more than one menial task at a time, then they should bump it up. They really should. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please leave a like and a comment, subscribe, hit the bell if you want, and please see the description for some links to help me out and to help my channel grow. That would be amazing. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Bye, guys.